So, in my last video, I mentioned the Ciel Reddit page, and I was just looking at it this morning, and because I've not been there for a while, and one of the posts there had a link to this video. So there's like a few kind of rare videos still on YouTube of Ciel. This is one of them. It's called Meeting Jason Momoa. He's ugly in real life. And if we look at this is a thumbnail, I think. We've got Jason Momoa. Then we've got a Ciel in the middle, and then we've got Jason Momoa on the side. So let's just see. But I've seen like the first few seconds of it, but I've actually not seen this video yet. So it's going to be like a fresh reaction.
There is a famous actor called Jason Momoa, and I've met him. As I'm about to describe, I ended up spending a remarkably long period of time standing next to him while he was having conversations with other people. Now,
I think he tells the same story about standing next to you. Let's just hang up. Let's watch it again.
there is a famous actor called Jason Momoa, and I've met him. As I'm about to describe, I ended up spending a remarkably long period of time standing next to him while he was having conversations with other people. Now,
I mean, that's gotta fucking hurt, man. Like, if you're sitting next to like a famous dude like Jason Momoa while he has conversations with other people and not you, that's gonna suck.
this is a totally surreal situation. I'm not a fan of Jason Momoa. I didn't choose to be in this situation. At the end of this experience, I said to Melissa, I never imagined I would say this. I never imagined I'd be in a position to say this. I've got to tell you something. I feel like I'm way more attractive than Jason Momoa.
One more time.
Game of Thrones, fame from the Aquaman movie. He was absolutely the pinnacle than Jason Momoa. At the end of this experience, I said to Melissa, I never imagined I would say this. I never imagined I'd be in a position to say this. I've got to tell you something. I feel like I'm way more attractive than Jason Momoa.
Never meet your heroes, man.
This was several years ago, before coronavirus, when Jason Momoa was very much at the height of his fame. Fame from Game of Thrones, fame from the Aquaman movie. He was absolutely the pinnacle of his career, you know, as a famous actor who was regarded as handsome. And, you know, at that time, you know, perhaps
I think like regarded as a fucking uber chad.
you could say then as now, going through border controls at an American airport is a very lengthy, it's a very time-consuming experience. So Jason Momoa comes up and stands right next to me in the line to go through security at an airport, which is remarkable and strange. And he does it because there was another guy standing next to me that Jason Momoa knew somehow from the film industry and specifically from music. So my guess is this is a musician who's somehow involved in making soundtracks, something like that. But it was obvious he was connected to live music, not just filmmaking or whatever. So Jason Momoa was really happy to see this guy. He hasn't seen him in a
What
while.
the
They're
fuck is
getting
this
back
video?
together. So Jason Momoa comes over and kind of apologizes, you know, for cutting him. Oh, hey, look, this is an old friend of mine. Do you mind if I stand here and talk to him? And I'm stuck in line, standing right next to Jason Momoa. Guys, you know, I don't want to exaggerate this, but you know how it is in these airport situations. In total, by the end of this story, I think I was standing next to Jason Momoa for like 45 minutes. So I say, you know, you have this weird experience in line standing next to him, and I get to hear the whole. I have no choice. I have to hear this whole conversation he has. And then I get through whatever it is, the security procedure, and at the next stage of things inside the
This is quite an unusual Bachelor Ciel video, to be honest. He doesn't do many like story time ones.
airport, Melissa has to go to the bathroom. Now, going to the bathroom as a woman at an airport is much more time consuming than it is as a man. It's like, okay, I stack up all the bags. Okay, I'll stand here and wait for you, and I can't move. I've got all our baggage and so on at this stage. I've got a lot to kind of look after. She goes into the bathroom, and I honestly was thinking, well, at least I don't have to fucking stand next to Jason Momoa anymore. And he and his friend, they come and stand next to me again. And it's like, for another 15 minutes,
Those motherfuckers, man.
I'm standing there. It's a good position to wait in front of the women's bathroom in this airport. And Jason Momoa and his friend are going on. And what they're doing is they're making arrangements to get drunk together. That's what they're talking. And anyway, look, this is this totally fucking unexpected scenario. Jason Momoa is a guy who grew up playing team sports, playing hockey. I don't know how successful he was, but, you know, reportedly, he was a physically large, strong specimen who was good enough at hockey. So he was some kind of athlete in team sports. The people consider him handsome. He went on from being an athlete to being, a movie star, various stages in between. I know this because Kevin Smith reported a conversation he had with Jason Momoa, again, at an airport at random, where Kevin Smith asked Jason Momoa, like, oh, don't you ever feel like you can never be happy if you don't go back to playing hockey? And Jason Momoa just laughed. He was like, no. Being a movie star is way better. The reality is, when you're standing next to a guy like Jason Momoa and you're listening to him talk for like 45 minutes, this guy has...
Like, is that Kevin Smith, like, the guy that did Mallrats and Clicks? Is that the same Kevin Smith he's talking about?
No sophistication. Zero. He
Oh,
has
hang on.
no intellectual
We're getting
substance.
there. Hang on.
His manner of speaking... The reality is, when you're standing next to a guy like Jason Momoa and you're listening to him talk for like 45 minutes, this guy has no sophistication. Zero. He has no intellectual substance. His manner of speaking is embarrassingly childlike. He's not reading a script. This is him having a real conversation with a guy who's a real long...
He's just not a fucking intellectual. It's terrible.
...term friend of his. Jason Momoa very obviously has a long history of drug and alcohol use. I don't know anything about it. If I knew nothing about the guy, if I had never seen a TV show or a movie with him in it, and I was just standing next to him, I would be aware this guy is some kind of scumbag with a long history of drug and alcohol use. It's written all over his face, And, again, in real life, dealing with real people, what it's like to meet someone who has real intellectual substance, real character, who has something interesting to talk about and talks about it in an interesting way, as opposed to talking to a bumpkin, no matter how muscular.
Like, he was like portrayed as the king of the Dothrakis, right? And he didn't even really speak much. He just grunted, fought, fucked, and looked awesome. And I don't know, I might be wrong, I'm not talked to chicks about it, but I think women found him attractive in his role there. And he wasn't talking about, like, complex fucking intellectual shit.
Who has real intellectual substance, real character, who has something interesting to talk about and talks about it in an interesting way, as opposed to talking to a bumpkin, no matter how muscular, Like, no matter how much muscle mass this bumpkin is carrying around. And a bumpkin with a history of drug and alcohol addiction, perhaps an ongoing history. The word history.
Yeah, women really hate like super popular, well-built, famous guys who are party animals. They fucking hate them, right? They're not attractive, eh?
History suggests something in the past that's over. We shouldn't say that. Someone who has a past and quite possibly a present and a future wrapped up in drug and alcohol addiction. Jason Momoa seemed like a really loathsome, disgusting character in person. Now, I'll also add, a lot of these guys, well, for one thing, Jason Momoa leans very heavily on computer editing of his image in movies like Aquaman. What he looks like in person, he doesn't look muscular, he doesn't look lean, he doesn't look athletic, he doesn't look impressive. He looks like an old, drugged out burnout. He looks, honestly, if you told me he was a homeless person, his manner of dress, his hair, his face, he looked
fucking, the Ciel's going in hard on fucking Jason here, like
awful. And again, it wasn't just a judgment based on his appearance. I didn't stand there staring at him, but I had to stand next to him and listen to this long conversation. A conversation that then continued when I'm standing next to the bathroom, when he's arranging with this guy to go and get drunk. Like right then. It's like, oh, can we go here at the airport? Can we go there? Like, where do you want to go get a bunch of drinks? It's certainly a remarkable thing that alcohol is served in airports and indeed on airplanes, but that's part of our cultural tradition. I think it is fair to say that Andrew Tate thinks of himself as, an Andrew Momoa character. Fair enough. Andrew Momoa does not philosophize about the decisions he's made in life. He doesn't preach that other people should live the same way he does. Andrew Tate precisely does. And Andrew Tate advocates for other men to live the same kind of life he lives. Well, look, I don't even know how old Andrew Momoa was when I was in the airport.
See, this is why I enjoyed some of Bastila Ciel videos. Like, this is all about fucking him standing next to Jason Momoa in an airport, and look where it's taken us. It's taken us. He is taking us at all these different directions, these different topics, and we're talking about Andrew Tate now.
Yeah, okay, guys, we gotta Google that. How old is Jason Momoa? Did I change them into one person? Did I say Andrew Momoa?
38.
Wow. So he's almost okay. He's exactly the same age I am. I had no idea. I thought he was 10 years older than me. All right.
How old?
So
was
that's
I right?
interesting
38?
too. So Jason Momoa, I think he's both the same age and the same height as me. Sorry, you can see I didn't think about this stuff. I think that's the same height. What is this? Sorry, I'm Canadian, so I think of everything in meters. Except so Jason Momoa, I think he was a bit hunched over that day. I would guess he was 1 inch shorter than me. But whatever. According to the internet, Jason Momoa and I, same age, and
the title of this video should be "I'm taller than Jason Momoa."
But whatever. According to the internet, Jason Momoa and I, same age, and maybe he's 1 inch taller than me. Maybe that's just his hair. Okay, so I'm shocked. I thought Jason Momoa was already 10 years older than me. I would attribute it to his drug use and alcohol use, but he has aged really badly, again, having seen him in person. What do you think Jason Momoa's life is going to be like at age 65? What?
He's going to be in the lap of luxury, in one of his many houses, surrounded by his grandkids, and in the evening he'll have just loads of mistresses. I'm guessing something like that.
What do you think Andrew Tate's life is going to be like at age 65. Now,
Well, Andrew Tate might have been in prison by that time for 20 odd years, maybe shit.
I'm actually not making the argument that you have to live every minute of every day, here and now, today, preparing for this more meaningful life you want to live when you're 65. But let me ask you, would 1 hour a day be too much? Would 2 hours a day be too much? I was finally reading, oh, it's in the other room, so I can't get it off the shelf. I was finally reading Aristotle's Rhetoric last night. I finished the other book I was reading. I started reading Aristotle's Rhetoric. So that must be the most delayed book I've ever read or not read. You know, once in a while you have a book you start on again and again. The last time I was reading it, I had...
Do you remember, like, his girlfriend had her own YouTube channel for a while, and if I remember, it was all, like, reviews of, like, Aristotle books.
I had receipts in the book from a coffee shop in Thailand. So the last time I was reading this book, I was in Thailand. This book went to Thailand, it came back, and I've continued reading at the same point. You know,
that was a hard time for him in Thailand, to be fair. Like, that's kind of where it all started here, when he had the Durian Rider was making accusations about him, and that's the first video I ever watched. It was either Durian Rider goes to jail or I do. That was my introduction to the Ciel verse.
Why am I reading Aristotle's Rhetoric? Okay, well, long story short, there's a better person that I can be. You know, maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, maybe not soon. There's a better person I want to be when I'm 65 years old. And it involves and requires learning and understanding the kind of material that's in Aristotle's Rhetoric, which is in many ways a boring book. Let me just disclaim. It's not, compared to other books Aristotle has written, it's not a page turner. There is a certain degree of misery involved in reading that particular book from Aristotle. So let's just admit that we're talking about a book that's boring. It's important, historically important, politically important. But
just reminding you guys, we started off with standing next to Jason Momoa in an airport, and now we're talking about Aristotle. This is why I fucking love these guys. This is why I love this guy's videos, man.
But it is quite okay. Tell me something. Would the world be a better place if every single member of Parliament, if every single member of the Senate, every single member of Congress lived the life I live, or let's be transparent. Let's say if they lived the life I am preaching that you ought to live. Perhaps I don't live up to, my own preaching. What if every single member of the Senate, Congress, Parliament was 100% sober, 100% vegan? What if every single one of them felt a kind of moral obligation to know what they're talking about, to do a certain kind of research that, as you know, it extends far...
Like, there's many different personality types, and yeah, there's some sober people who are great and really effective. There's also sober people that play life a bit too safe and don't really do much. And there's a lot of unsober people who are complete fuck-ups. But there's also some of like the most brilliant fucking people at what they do outside of just life or whatever, like partying or whatever. Like, some of these kind of people that get fucked up, definitely not sober individuals, that are absolutely fucking brilliant at what they do. Like, kind of next level. So
beyond reading things like Aristotle's. What if they lived by the set of intellectual values that I've been preaching? Do you think the
What if they like had a bunch of bananas ripening behind them and made a series of weird videos where they just fucking humiliated the shit out of their girlfriend or ex-girlfriend for kind of crazy reasons or because it's art or whatever, but either way just completely fucking humiliated her in front of the whole internet? What if they did that? Do you know what I mean?
world would be a better place or a worse place if our political leaders lived up to my philosophy? Now, there are many different aspects of my philosophy I could bring in here. Do you think the world would be a better place?
This is like another thing when I watch a Bastard Ciel. It's an emotional roller coaster. Like, you laugh. Sometimes you get some insights, but it always kind of, I go between sort of liking him and then thinking he's a fucking dickhead and then going back to liking him and enjoying it and then getting angry at him. Like, now I'm angry at him. Normally, about this long into a video, he's pissed me off, and he's pissing me off now.
If these people, instead of being religious fundamentalists, were, like myself, practicing...
Yeah, let's everyone be like fucking a Bastard Ciel, and just humiliate the fuck out of their girlfriends and make really disturbing, abusive content on
if our
YouTube.
political
Let's all
leaders lived
fucking
up
do
to
that.
my philosophy. Now, there are many different aspects of my philosophy I could bring in here. Do you think the world would be a better place if these people, instead of being religious fundamentalists, were, like myself, practicing nihilists, practicing this form of skepticism about history that I preach? I call it historical nihilism. It's a form of nihilism that isn't just based on the refutation of the existence of God.
Okay, I'm gonna try and enjoy this
but
enjoy this video and him, and I'll change my attitude. It's kind of gone to the everyone should be like me kind of, I'm the best that a person can be thing, and I don't know, for some reason that always kind of annoys me when people are like that.
if our political leaders lived up to my philosophy. Now, there are many different aspects of my philosophy I could bring in here. Do you think the world would be a better place if these people, instead of being religious fundamentalists, were, like myself, practicing nihilists, practicing this form of skepticism about history that I preach? I call it historical nihilism. It's a form of nihilism that isn't just based on the refutation of the existence of God. It's not just atheism, but a kind of engaged skeptical inquiry into history, understanding the way in which our cultural values and assumptions today are the product of a more or less arbitrary and iniquitous, historical process leading up to the circumstance we now find ourselves. Okay, interesting question. Would the world be a better place if our political leaders, right, philosophically had a lot more in common with EISEL MAZARD?
Fuck
Okay,
no.
what about a world where all of our political leaders instead practiced and preached the philosophy of Andrew Tate? What if every guy in Congress, every guy in Parliament was trying to live the life that Andrew Tate claims he lives, perhaps pretends he lives, and that he preaches you ought to live? It's immediately obvious this would be a disaster. This would be terrible for everyone. By all means, guys.
I think he was really affected by this 45 minutes standing next to a superstar in the airport. I think it affected him, man.
Guys, audience participation here. I mean, if you disagree with me, let me know. Does anyone feel the world would be a better place if all these guys in Congress, all these guys in Parliament, etc., whichever political system, if all of them were trying to live the Andrew Tate lifestyle? And again, I'm not saying this to hate on Jason Momoa, but I do think he's an example of this. We could extend it as far as to say the Jason Momoa life also.
Well, that was an interesting video. I've definitely never seen one like that. Such a story time video from a Basler Ciel. I've never seen that one, so thank you to the Basler Ciel Reddit for quenching my thirst for a Basler Ciel content. Thank you guys.